All right, so we are looking at a bit of modernity, and that is World War One. I've always been really surprised at how many students remember World War Two, but they forget there had to be a World War One to get there. So, what in the world happens? Well, I'm hoping that you watched the little YouTube video that I installed for you. But this particular little piece is a historic reminder of the RMS Lusitania. So the Lusitania was a fairly old ship. It was the world's largest for about 2 years, I think, 1904 to 1906. And it held nearly 2,000 passengers. Well, once World War I broke out, it was a battle of the seas as well as the land. So one important part were actually German U-boats and submarines, and there was a lot of smuggling that went on with the shipping lines. So the Lusitania, as you can see, its certificate of authenticity, heads out on May 1st, 1915 with 1,959 passengers aboard. It is supposed to be escorted from, it's going from New York to Liverpool to the UK, and at some point it was supposed to get an escort, which never manifested. Now, the problem is that the Germans knew that weapons were being transported on cruise lines. And in fact, they even took out a full-length page advertisement, I believe in the New York Times, that said, "Don't go on this ship. If you are American, we are cracking down on these weapon shipments." Well, there were some American passengers that got on anyway, ignoring the very overt notations. And unfortunately, they were on board when the Lusitania was struck and it sank. So it entered Irish waters on May 7th, slowing to navigate the foggy weather, and a nearby German U-boat took advantage of the situation, torpedoing the ship twice. 1,198 passengers drowned, including 128 American citizens. And this is where essentially the United States utilizes the sinking of the Lusitania and the attack on American citizens to get us into World War I. Now, what this happens to be is a piece of the flotsam that ended up washing ashore from the sinking of the Lusitania, and it comes from a deck chair. So this was on display for, about 100 years plus as a solid piece. But eventually the exhibit was retired, and so they took the deck chair and they actually divided it up into smaller sections so that people like myself could have a piece, essentially, of the Lusitania from World War I. So, what does World War I also bring us? When it comes to art movements, you might want to pay attention to the De Stijl movement and to Dada/Surrealism. So the De Stijl movement is going to be very much an organized art movement. When you take a look at it, it's going to look like tile, but it is the idea of creating something new and a new world order from the chaos of World War I, whereas Dada is going to be all about the chaos and that the placement of rules failed. So Dada draws on randomness, on chance, just like the wars, where we had nearly 2,000 passengers who got on this ship, and about 800 or less survived. They got on the ship expecting to go to England without any real issue, and they died. Just like soldiers who got drafted into World War I, some survived until the end, some died on their last day, some died on their first day, some went insane, some were mutilated. There's this whole sense of randomness that becomes apparent through the war, particularly since World War I broke this idea that the world was going to a better place, that we were no longer going to have war as humankind began to advance and civilize itself. And so it was kind of a crushing blow to this optimism that predated it. So there you go, a little bit more about the Lusitania.